Good day. Hope you're doing well. In today's video, a little bit of a disappointment in mirrorless cameras. So for many, many years, I've been using DSLRs. So the old system, the old cameras with the mirrors that slap up and make a lot of noise and everything. And I thought, let's move into the whatever century this is and buy a Nikon Z30. So the cheapest I could find, Nikon Z30 with a kit lens, 16 to 50 millimeter lens with an aperture that goes down to f6.3 if you zoom into 50 millimeters. I thought let's just give it a try. And my hope was that a mirrorless system, a mirrorless camera, would get rid of all the autofocus fine tuning that you have to do with a DSLR. So with a DSLR, the problem is that the light rays, let's see, do I have this little image here? This is a little bit small, but with a DSLR, the problem is light comes in, hits the mirror, goes up, and then does some magic here and comes out here. So this is where you look through the viewfinder and you see what you're going to photograph. Um, This mirror here is semi-transparent, so some of the light rays will actually go through and bounce against this sub mirror or the secondary mirror, goes to the autofocus the autofocus module, and this will do some computations and calculations because this is not where the image should be sharp, but this is where the image should be sharp here at the center, which I think this is, or maybe here, I don't know, somewhere here in the back. So there's a bit of computations going on, and then hopefully when you you don't hit, but you press the shutter release button, light rays hit the sensor and it will be sharp. But usually it's not, well, not usually. Usually it is sharp, but sometimes it's not perfectly sharp, and then you do some autofocus fine tuning so that you help the system to focus a little bit better for a specific lens, if it's a zoom lens, a specific zoom setting, a specific aperture, and a specific focusing distance. So that's annoying unless if you're always shooting at the same distance with the same lens at the same aperture. That is really useful if you're a portrait photographer, for instance, and you're always photographing your models from, say, 3 meters away with an 85 millimeter lens at f4, I don't know, and you calibrate your camera with that lens at f4 at whatever I said, 3 meters, you will always have sharp pictures. Well, not always. If your model is moving too much, it may not be sharp. If you're moving the camera, shaking the camera, it will not be sharp either. But in ideal circumstances, if you do that calibration, it will be perfect. So I thought, silly me, mirrorless cameras don't need to do that because the light rays go straight to the sensor, and the camera can use the sensor data not only to show you in the electronic viewfinder what the camera is seeing, it can also use that information, that image on the sensor to actually focus the camera, or well, focus the lens. But it turns out that the Z30 at least doesn't really do that well, and I still need to do autofocus fine tune. So let me jump to the first image. So I took 8 images, 4 with autofocus fine tune turned on, and then 4 with autofocus fine tune turned off. So this is actually with the excuse me. So this is actually with the autofocus fine tune turned on, and on these modern cameras, you can. This is better than before. Before you had one autofocus fine tune value, and that was it. Now you get to dial in 2 values, one for the wide end of the lens and one for the telephoto end of the lens. And it turns out that I need a -5 correction on the telephoto end, so 50 millimeters, which is what I'm using now. So I've zoomed into 50 millimeters to take this photo at f8. And this number comes from my experiments with the MTF Mapper software. If you don't know what it is, I've done another video on using the MTF Mapper software to find this value. Let me first show you, well, this is the one, I've also put everything to flat. So it looks a little bit flat, obviously. It's also, maybe I should zoom out a little bit. So it's actually quite small, part of the image that I'm going to look at, 100%. And I've chosen just, a random object. This is a pouch of the Nikon SB400 flash. You see that Nikon has tried to save a bit of money by putting in SS400 instead of SB400. I guess two of the same letters are cheaper than different letters. Anyway, I used this. This is the little red box that shows you where I focused, and this was with what's it called? Pinpoint AF. So that's like the smallest AF focusing area that I can select on this camera. Um, Vibration reduction was off. I don't know, maybe you want to know some other stuff. So 50 millimeters, f8, 1/200 of a second shutter speed with flash, remote. So camera was on a tripod. Shooting distance was 1 meter, so quite close. And I think that's probably all the information you need. Anyway, this is with autofocus fine tune turned on. Then let me jump to one where it was switched off. And maybe I should just compare them next to each other. I'll do left and right. So on the left is an image with autofocus fine tune turned on. On the right, autofocus fine tune turned off. And I think you can really see that this is making a difference. Autofocus fine tune turned on, a sharper image than, and actually it's a very sharp lens and a very sharp, I was going to say camera, but it's a very sharp lens. If you switch on the autofocus fine tune, and so I took 4 shots. I know it's not 100, it's not 1,000. So, in terms of sampling variability, I could have done better. But still, for every comparison that I did, so let me switch to the next one with autofocus fine tune turned off. Again, it is softer than this image. Softer than this image. And this is almost as good, but still a little bit softer than this image. And then, of course, you can take the second one with autofocus fine tune turned on, and you can then make all the, every comparison. So you can do 16 comparisons. And every time, except once, the autofocus fine tune was doing better. So it really makes a difference. I'm a little bit disappointed that a camera from 2023, or I don't know, 2022 maybe the technology is from 2022, still needs autofocus fine tune. So yeah, there you have it. I thought that finally we had gotten rid of the need to do autofocus fine tuning, but we still have to do it. What a bummer. Well, I can only hope that the more expensive models from Nikon, like the Z, whatever it is, 50 and the ZFC, are better, or maybe the full frame cameras are better. Maybe the Z5, Z6, second generation, Z7 and the second generation, and of course the Z8 and the Z9. I think hopefully they are better, but I don't know. Should I waste my money? Spend my money, I mean, on a Z8? I don't know. Maybe I should rent one. But anyway, if you have a mirrorless camera, a Nikon or some other camera like a Canon or Sony or Fujifilm, I don't know, do you also see this? Do you have the same experience? Let me know in the comments. I'd be very interested because I've looked around on the internet and it's really scarce. People don't really, well, I guess even in the days of DSLRs, not a lot of people knew about autofocus fine tune. But especially in the day and age of mirrorless cameras, I suspect a lot of people are just assuming that the camera has perfect autofocus each and every time. And maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know. Maybe it's just my camera or my sloppy technique. Who knows? Anyway, thank you very much for watching and see you the next time. Bye bye.